Okay, welcome back. Let's color up Mr. Donatello here. And again, like with the swatch one video, skin blobs, we're going to use the 100 set of markers that I got off Amazon. Here's my swatch. So let's pick out some colors to use. I like to start with the skin tone. So for the lightest, I'm going to go with number 48. So 48 is labeled as yellow-green. And then I want to jump over, let's use 59 for the mid-tone. So this yellow-green is going to be the highlight. It's 59 pale green. It's going to be the mid-tone. And then let's try that number 43 as the shadow area, deep olive green. Okay, so as you know, I like to use 3 colors for the highlights, mid-tone, and shadows, and then if it's glossy, then I'll leave a little bit of a white spot. But I'm going to start with the highlight area, so I'm going to have a little bit of a glossy spot there. Switch to my mid-tone. Doesn't matter which tip you use as long as you've got enough ink in there. So I'm going to color this in like that. And then the shadow area on this side. Okay, so I got a nice 3-color blend there. I'm going to go back to my mid-tone and try to blend that in with the shadow area a little better. There you go. And then with the highlight, blend that in there. Alright, so that's a nice blend. I didn't really know you could do that with markers before I started playing with them. I was on a Facebook group for Jurassic Park, and a guy posted some pictures of some drawings and colorings he did of some of the tour vehicles, and I was like, wow, what media did you use for that? And he's like, I used markers. I was like, oh. So since then I started practicing with them and came to love them. Okay. And my shadow. Okay. And then the blending. You can use the blender that, if you have one, a colorless blender, but I like to let the markers do the work themselves if they can. Okay, so I got a nice shiny face and head. Must be in the rain, perhaps. Let me find my blender. Where did I put it? Well, I don't see it in my set here. Maybe I put it back in the other box. Nope. Oh well, I'll just try to go on without it. So let's continue on. Let's work on his left arm now. Let's get my highlight over here. A little bit of a shine. There, up to his elbow. And the mid-tone. And of course the shadow underneath the arm. Alright, blend that in. So what I'm doing, if you can't tell, is I'm drawing the separate color sections, and then to blend them I'm going back and using the lighter color to blend into the slightly darker color. So like here from the yellow green into the pale green, I just kind of overlap there and it helps blend the colors together. So you just go you know, so you're not coloring dark on top of light. You color the light on top of the dark, and it helps mix the colors. Okay, so I got deep green. Got to get the shadow from his head, throwing the shadow down onto his shoulder. There. Okay. Over, grab my mid green, and let's actually use the highlighter, or not the highlighter, but the one for the highlights. There we go. A little bit of one there. And the middle green. We'll have a word of warning though. If you do buy these markers off of Amazon, some of them are kind of smelly. For some reason, it smells kind of like rotten potatoes, in my opinion. I don't know why they smell that way, but some of them do. But if you can get past the smell, they're still pretty good markers. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on his forearms now. Same thing, get the highlight across his knuckle areas. There. Maybe a little bit there on his forearm. Mid-tone. Again, it doesn't matter if you use the chisel tip or the fine point, as long as you can get some good control on it. They'll both do the trick. Alright, nearly there with the arms. See, I'm using the chisel tip this time. The broad tip, however you want to call it. It's just, you have a little more control with the smaller tip, although the larger tip, as you can see, puts a lot more ink down at once, and you can get a faster coverage if time is of the essence. But if you can figure out the angles of that tip, you can get some pretty fine lines with just it. You don't need to worry about the fine tip side. But well, let's just do it. Let's just keep using the broad tip there. Alright, so blend that in with the lighter color on top of the darker color, and then the very lightest color on top. Now I really want to find my blender marker, so let me pause the video real quick and let me see if I can find it. Found it right away. There it was, right in front of my face. Okay, so I'm going to use the blender to kind of soften up these white spots inside the green there. So just color on there and get that pale green to bleed into those white areas a little better. There we go. I don't want them quite so bright and flashy shiny. Okay, so while we got our greens out, let's go ahead and move on down his legs. Highlight. Go ahead and lighter color there, and then his leg's going to throw a shadow on his foot, so I'm just going to put the highlight down here. It doesn't have to be real tight. You kind of be really loose with it. Kind of just color where the highlight's going to go, and you can start putting in the mid-tone for the heavy lifting, as it were. As you can see, I'm kind of going out of the lines here and there, but that's okay. We will color over it, and you'll never know. Well, you might know because you're the one that did it, but in any case. Okay. The thing with using markers is it's very permanent. You can't erase marker. So you got to be pretty careful when you're drawing and coloring. Because you can't fix any mistakes. You can try to color over it, but that doesn't always work. Okay, so just get the main color blocked in, and then come in on top of the, just drawing a shadow across his leg there. Okay, so now I can start blending in a little better. Again, I'm just using the, right now I'm using the mid-tone color to blend in the shadow into the mid-tone. Once I get this in place, then I can see I went outside the line there for his knee pad, but that's okay because it's going to be a dark brown color. So now I'm using the highlight color to blend into the mid-tone color. Might have to use the chisel in. There we go. Same thing up here. So what this does is kind of wettens the ink back up a little bit and makes it more flexible. Okay, so we got all his green skin painted, or colored, I guess. I'll switch and do his shell. So let me break out my swatch again. Do the bottom of a shell. I'm going to go with, let's see, let's use 107 for the highlight, so that's labeled sand, and then let's go 97 for the mid-tone, rose beige, and let's do 101 for the darker part. 101, and that's labeled as yellow ochre. Okay, so same thing. Color on my highlights. I'm going to go and switch to the chisel edge. Just blocking that highlight color on his shells there. Now do the mid-tone, the rose beige. Just kind of color around that. You got to be kind of careful too when you're coloring like this. As you can see, some of those black lines that I use the Sharpie, fine tip Sharpie, they're kind of blurring a little bit now that I've used another alcohol based marker on top. But that's okay. Kind of adds to the art. Okay, so now I'm using the shadow color, the yellow ochre. Slightly darker than the mid-tone, but it's good. You can add in some nice blending colors there. Really make that shell look. It's got a lot of roundness to it. Okay, so back to the highlight. I'm going to go ahead and try to blend that in with the mid-tone some more. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And that's going to be about it for this part. I'm going to cut this into two different sessions. The first one, obviously, we colored his green skin, and well, this is actually part two, I suppose. Coloring session will be cut into two. But we got his green skin colored and his belly shell, the front of his shell. So next time we'll get in and color the rest of it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.